So Honda brought us another mini bike, the Honda Trail 125, which is awesome that we finally get in Canada. It was introduced in the United States last year, and I bought one the minute I saw it. Let me tell you why. So the cool thing with Honda, with bringing us the Grom and the Navi and the Monkey, is they are recapturing what they had in the 60s and 70s, and that following about people just having fun with motorcycles. And that's what the Trail is all about. It's not something that's taken itself too seriously. It knows it's a little bike, but it's trying to do all kinds of things. You'll see when we ride it, this is actually a semi-automatic transmission, which is completely different than an automatic transmission. If you've driven any Honda ATV, it feels a lot like that. So the ease of driving is much easier to learn. But also when you're driving off-road, the cool thing, you don't have a clutch to worry about and you're not gonna stall it out. So that really works in your favor. They also mounted this bike with what could only be described as an ATV rack in the back. So I'm not too sure what I'm gonna do with that, but it's kind of cool. So you go hunting, or you wanna bring tools, or you wanna do anything. It's almost like a little pickup box for a motorcycle, which is really cool. They powered this with the 125cc engine, rated at 9 horsepower. So the Honda Grom is rated at 9.7. So I don't know if they just rounded it down or they took 0.7 horsepower away or whatever they did, but it worked in here, so that's fine. The bike is 259 pounds wet. So full of gas, ready to go, driving down the road, 259 pounds, which is really light. You know, when we're comparing to a competition motocross, you're right around 200 to 220 pounds, so it fits in that weight almost. But secondary to that is the weight on this is super low. So when you're driving it, it really feels like you're driving a pedal bike. The tires that they've mounted on these are a little taller and skinny, so good for off-road, and its on-road demeanor, it kind of almost feels a little bit like a pedal bike, just because you could kind of toss it around, but it makes use of its power really well. Top speed. So if you're looking to buy a 125, you should not be worried about this, but we're gonna talk about it anyways. So I was able to get my bike up to 99 kilometers an hour. That's roughly 60 miles an hour for you American folks. That is if the wind is at my back. If the wind is at my front, I'm getting about 80 kilometers an hour, which is about 45-ish, 48 miles an hour. So depending conditions are really going to affect your top speed, but it's not really something you should be worried about on this bike. This is about just being able to explore anywhere and having a lot of fun doing it. The other thing for the Greenpeace people out there, this thing is super fuel efficient. Honda has a rating of 158 miles per gallon, which translates to 1.5 liters per 100 kilometers. From driving it, I'd have to lead to believe that it is correct. Either way, it's not gonna cost you a lot. Even if it's not as good as what they say, it's still gonna be phenomenal on gas. So price point on this bad boy, as you'd expect, is fantastic. For us Canadian people, we're looking at $49.71, and for the US market, we're looking at $38.99. Obviously, you have your freight preparation charges and everything. Guys, we need to be able to move bikes from one place to another. The guys build them in crates. Other guys take them out of the crates and then fuel it up and everything, so that's normal. But the price point is fantastic, and if it's like every other Honda mini bike, it's gonna keep its value, so that's even better. So some of the things that they made to this bike to make sure that you know it's a real off-roader, you have a little over 6 inches of ground clearance. It comes with a built-in skid plate, already ready to bash the rocks. Your intake and your exhaust are mounted high, so we're ready to do extreme water crossings. Cool tech that they integrated in this bike, it actually has front ABS. I'm really thankful they didn't put it in the back, so we can still do slap shot stops and we can still lock up that back wheel, but not being able to lock up that front wheel is gonna mean we're gonna keep the bike straight at all times, but it definitely takes doing endos off the table, so we might have to see if we could disactivate it. So the things that I have to say that I don't like about the bike, there really isn't obvious. It's a small, tiny motorcycle, but that's also why I love the bike, and that's why I bought the bike. If I compare it to the Grom, it definitely captures that essence, and even more so. With the high exhaust and the high intake, everything kind of leads me to believe that this is gonna be a decent off-roader. What they're trying to accomplish with the bike, they 100% did in terms of the emotion and everything that they're invoking. If we look at competition, it's in a class of its own, because do you you pin it against scooters? Well, nothing really looks cool like that. Do you pin it against mini bikes like the Navi or the Grom or the Z125? Not really, because it doesn't kind of fit that mold. So it really stands apart. It stands on its own, which is really cool because it doesn't have competition. Also, the bike has been out for 2 years in the States, and thank you to everybody who's been behind this motorcycle. There is a ton of aftermarket support for this bike already. There's a bunch of builders that have done some cool builds with these. Guys are putting gnarly tires on it, putting a bunch of cages, and all kinds of stuff that we've seen happen on the Grom. It's happening on the trail, and I couldn't be more excited about it. It's a really, really cool bike. So if you're looking to have that second bike, you're looking to have a bike that you could throw in the back of a motorhome, you're looking to teach someone how to ride motorcycles, or you just have a cottage and you want to go booting around, the trail is definitely for you. I would say if you're looking at this review with interest and you're thinking of buying a trail, you are already in it for the cool factor, so just keep throttling that way and go pick up a Honda Grom. And go pick up a Honda Trail 125. Then go pick up a Grom. They're a pair, they go together.